Joe Budden bashes Drake after his reference record leaks.
I still think that I haven't heard timestamp Drake in quite a long time. It does beg the question, why is that now?
That's right. On a recent episode of the Joe Budden podcast, it appears that Joe Budden did not mince any words when it came to criticizing how Drake's career might be in question after another reference track leaks. But here's the thing, he also hints that there's other ghostwriter things that might be going on, even saying something like, he hasn't been sounding the same since 2017 or something like that. And I must say, this was some super hater stuff Joe had going on. So what I'm gonna do is deconstruct some of the things Joe said and really try to get to the science of why Joe Budden seems to be hating on Drake so much. Now, one of the first things that were of notice was when Joe Budden said that Drake hasn't sounded like his timestamp self. The Calabasas record, the Dallas record, and that there's a reason, and that could be that maybe, he doesn't have the same camp or the same people helping to write his records. And I have to say, I think that's a little off, as Middle of the Ocean and Lucky Lefty are great testaments to Drake's lyrical penmanship. And we also gotta be real, this is Drake's twilight. I know Joe Budden, he didn't have the career that Drake did, but when you put numbers on the board for as long as Drake has, you're gonna fall off. So I don't expect Drake to sound like he did when he was in the midst of his prime. I don't expect Jay-Z to sound the same exact way he did when, Blueprint dropped. I think, yes, he might be still great with the wordplay, but his flows have taken a severe hit. Another thing Joe says is that Drake's audience, his fans, have moved to the red pill delineation. Now, I think this is some real hater stuff, largely because I don't know what proof Joe has of this, other than maybe a take he stole from Van Lathan. Van Lathan said this, and I think red pill is synonymous with the manosphere. The red pill is a term that comes from the Matrix, and it has become an ideology for individuals to talk about their awakening in some previous reality. It's a whole lot thing. I don't want to go into it. But I think this is really haterish because I feel like Joe Budden, his track record of his audience isn't necessarily the highest amongst women. Now, I'm just talking about what women say. There's women out there, if you tell them you listen to Joe Budden, they'll be like, ew, you listen to Joe? He's a, oh my God, he's disgusting. I would never listen to Joe. And now for Joe to leverage that against Drake is just fascinating. Because I would think Drake has the biggest female audience of any rapper in existence. He's an R&B artist and a rapper at the same time. Now, all of these critiques are really interesting, but we also have to go back and look at the history of Joe Budden and Drake. They were pretty cool. It seems like they were friends at some point. I don't know if they were friends, but in the interview he did at Hot 97, he kind of said that he was somewhat close with Drake, and Drake did used to look up to Joe Budden. But we also have to examine when Marissa Mendez said, Joe's a little bit creepy when it comes to Drake. Like, he's attached to him in some way.
He started going off on these Drake rants in 2016. That was when they were beefing and yeah, just randomly he really got fixated on the Drake issue. And it was becoming he wasn't even letting us get a word in edgewise, me or Rory, really. It was weird times for a little bit.
He was making the podcast when Marissa Mendez was on it a lot about Drake, and he was talking about Drake every episode. And if you go back and watch his last interview with Hot 97, he alludes to having some issue with Drake, having some secret information.
Wait, I would have loved to get to my finale.
Which was?
Oh no, I can't say that.
You gotta wait.
OVO start acting up again.
So you got to save it. You got to save the finale in the stash.
Oh yeah, I'd ruin hip hop.
How would you ruin? Why? Why? What do you mean?
I just know a lot. That's all.
And I think even at this time, Joe Budden had reference records, or he knew that some of the songs that Drake had were being written by other people. So Joe has some inside information. He might very well know that there's other reference tracks that nobody knows about, so that's why he's jumping out on a limb and making these accusations against Drake. Now, like I said before, this was a masterclass in hating. I don't know how things have gotten this bad between Joe Budden and Drake. I know Joe Budden has said he likes to see his favorite people sweat. I guess he could be saying this, but as someone who kind of has been on spaces with Joe, this manipulative nonsense can really bother people and get under their skin. So I would assume at some point Drake is going to respond, whether it be in a song, and maybe that's what Joe wants. Maybe Joe wants Drake to get so angry that he drops a diss record or makes some type of comment. And now that Drake has lost to Kendrick Lamar in the court of public opinion, you know, Drake's real vulnerable to saying something that Joe could easily shoot down, because whatever Joe says is going to be trumped up by the Kendrick fans, unlike the last time when Drake did that whole Instagram post and it seemed to rock Joe to his core. But let me know what you think. Was Joe hating, or was he just highlighting some things that he may know about? I'm in the camp that Joe was hating super hard, but hey, it was entertaining, so why not? Alright, y'all. Follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. Make sure you tap in, man. There's a lot going on. I'm sure Drake is going to fire back at some point. But this is Danny from The Stop. Peace.